ever become distracted while doing genealogy research only to discover you're actually learning more about your ancestors as you research the people around them? Howdy, welcome back to Family History Fanatics. If you're new here, I'm Devin Noel Lee, and today we're diving into the reality of genealogy research beyond tutorials and tips. Whether you're just starting out or have been at it for a while, you'll discover how often genealogists do and don't practice what they teach, but ultimately strive to deepen their connections to their roots. In this series, I will show you a real research project where I followed best practices and used great tools for the most part, but I also made a lot of mistakes along the way. So if you're ready to research over my shoulder, I will take you through a new research project scope that evolved from a simple research question to something a little more robust. And to be honest, I feel it's the future of genealogy research for those who want to truly understand the lives of their ancestors. If you're ready, let's dive in. In November 2023, I began expanding the initial draft of William James Townsend's A Story using the principles I teach in the A Recipe for Writing Family History book. I knew William was in Company K of the Ohio 133rd Volunteer Infantry during the Civil War. I knew he was hospitalized with mumps and erysipelas, basically hospital gangrene. I wanted to know more about when and where he contracted the disease. Did others get the same condition? And what did William experience from the time of his enlistment to hospitalization and then his eventual discharge? While I discovered that William served with his brother Milby, I wanted to know more about the men who he served with in the Company K. Were they neighbors, possible additional relatives? What were they? Who were they? To know these ancestors, I needed to research the men around them, but how was I going to do that? Initially, I discovered a really great book by Sylvester Sherman, who was a man who served in a different company, but the same regiment, Ohio 133rd. And he wrote about the entire experience that the men had and incorporated a few names here or there. And that was a foundational and very fabulous resource to help give me a sense of what Milby and William experienced. And as I started researching this book and trying to incorporate details into my initial draft to give it the social context, I started to think, I really want to know more about the men William and Milby served with. Again, who were they? Where were they from? What was their background? Do they have shared biographical aspects? So genealogy, I don't know how to say it in more layman's terms. Do they just have similar details about them that could have them bond, or could it create conflict? So I started thinking, okay, maybe I need to expand this research and research the 90 men who were in Company K. The other thing that I found interesting in this book was Sylvester talked about more than just that brief description many people find in various resources that just say, this is when they enlisted, here's the different places they went, and this is where they were discharged. Instead, in William's pension record, it had talked about the fact that he was at a specific location when he became ill, then he was hospitalized and had the mumps and the hospital gangrene, that the word that I always struggle to say. And so I started to think, okay, well, who was around William when this happened? Could Milby have been? Well, the book said it was Company A. Members of Company A. So I know William went on this expedition because his pension record said he did. So now he's part of Company A. So who else became injured from Company A? The questions are beginning to mount. So as I started doing the research, I started with 90 men in Company K, and then I expanded it to about 90 to 100 more men from Company A. But then I wanted to research the field and staff officers, because you have the hospital steward and the surgeon. They weren't the people that treated William. That was somebody else in this field hospital. But I also knew that William and Milby served under Gustavus Innes, so what kind of leader was he like? And soon I went from 90 people that I wanted to research to between 900 and 1,000 men. I said, okay, what the heck? Let's research everybody from Ohio 133rd and then see how they interact with Company K. The reason why I started doing that was certain regiments would then, after William became sick, Milby continued on, and he went to Fort Powhatan and a number of other locations, Virginia, and he became injured. Well, he was part of some of the other companies in the 133rd, so he didn't just stay with Company K. He got mixed and matched. He also encountered some other units from around the country. Now, I wasn't going to research everybody there, but it was an opportunity to stop and consider, okay, William and Milby are intersecting with more than just their company, so maybe I need to get a sense of these other men in the overall regiment. Now, I want to stop and give you a little bit of details about the 133rd. It's important to understand the unit in which your relative served. So if you feel free, you can skip forward, but here's some details for the curious in mind. The Ohio 133rd Regiment served for 100 days in 1864. It was formed by combining two units, the 58th and the 76th Battalions of the Ohio National Guard, as well as the 3rd Regiment of the Ohio National Guard. Now, here's something that maybe you guys can help me with. I haven't found the records of the Ohio National Guard, except for a brief mention in a county history that talked about the men that served in the Ohio National Guard, and then some of them that transferred into these 100-day units that were starting up in the 1860s. And it was a big push by the Ohio governor at that time to have these 3 months, 90 to 100 days service troops to really get more people involved to try to win the war in 1864. I haven't found William and Milby in the Ohio National Guard. So if anybody has any leads on that, that would be fantastic. Other details about the Ohio 133rd, as I mentioned earlier, Gustavus Innes commanded the regiment. There are a few more details for us to go over, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the history over on the blog post, and if you're curious, you can see the timeline of events. I want to talk about the men behind the numbers. The numbers are these. The regiment lost 31 men during service. 1 enlisted man was killed, 1 officer, and 29 others died of disease. And the disease is problematic because William Townsend did get a disease. One of the diseases spreading through a hospital. 29 men lost their lives, but William didn't. So now I really want to know about these 29 men and the officer who died from disease to see, did they have the same treatment as William, but William survived, but they didn't, because that would have a psychological impact on William and his future life. And so you can see now why I'm going to expand this research project. So we need to pause, okay? Good genealogy research begins with a question. And as I've covered on this channel before, the most common questions are biographical. Who is the person? Relational. Who are they? Who are their parents? Who are their children? Who are their spouses? Or they are biographical or event specific. So this is going to be, when were they born? When did they die? When did they enlist? When were they released? We've also talked in this channel about the genealogy fan club. These are friends, associates, and neighbors. And we rarely ask the type of question I'm starting to embark on. Who were the men William Townsend served with? And notice it's still an incredibly broad question. So how do I articulate what I'm after? Okay, so I want to know, what are their ages? Do they have primary military experience? Because are they a whole bunch of inexperienced, wet behind the ear folks? Or is there a lot of military experience, especially since this war has been going on for so long? How did that impact the truth? What was the life after war for many of these individuals? Did they marry? How many children did they have? How many members of the unit were missing their wives and children as they're going away for 100 days? How quickly after service did they die? One of the things that I find interesting is that while 39 individuals lost their lives, at the time of the war, there are several that died within a month or a year later. So maybe they were ill or had complications during their 100 days that took their life rapidly. Ultimately, I would love to get to the point in the pension records who is signing as witnesses of character, the situations for the veteran, and then the spouses. Who are all of these regimental people that are going and attesting to what's happening? Because that can start telling you, oh, this is a cluster of friends. They weren't just relatives, but they were relatives, the friend that's so close that it's a relative. So I wanted to start seeing some of that if possible. To answer these questions, I needed to mix traditional and potentially new genealogy strategies together. But the problem is, as you will see, there isn't really a tool to research a group of potentially not related individuals who could also potentially be related. See how it's kind of fuzzy? So a traditional family tree isn't necessarily going to work, but then I want to do data analysis to really get a sense of the men. Was this a unit that has a lot of immigrants or foreign-born individuals that signed up to go to battle for 100 days? Is this a bunch of young people? Are these a bunch of married men who are just going to go off for 100 days? I need to be able to do data analysis as well as connectivity relational research as well as genealogical research to prove them out. So there are some traditional tools, but are there new tools out there? I don't know. So as we go along in this journey, if you'll join me on it, I want you to share your thoughts. Oh, hey, did you try this? And if I didn't, then I can say, oh, well, that would have been really great if you were with me a year ago. Or, oh, let me try it out and see if this would have worked. So it's an opportunity to have a discussion. So this brings me to my invitation for you to join me in a series of videos where I'm going to highlight my non-traditional research project and my quest to answer, who were the men in William Townsend's unit that he served with. I will promise this. I'm going to be honest about the tools that I used, the techniques that I used, and the ones later I felt I should have used sooner. And I will be open to criticism where you say, hey, why didn't you do this? And remember, we've talked about this before. This would have been a great tool. As long as we keep a spirit of learning together, I think this can be a fun opportunity to research along with me and learn some insights for yourself, but also collaborate together. So if somebody wants to do a larger scope project, they have some feedback on where to go. I also promise to share my frustration that many genealogy platforms aren't equipped to handle such a project, and why perhaps few people will ever do this insane project that I was embarked on. But such a project would benefit other genealogists and historians and sociologists and military researchers and Also promise to explain what I'm doing to share the research I've gathered and what I probably won't do. So if somebody wants to pick up where I've left off there, I'm open to that as well. To ensure you're part of this journey, however, I ask that you subscribe to this channel and sign up for email reminders for when videos go live. Because I've taken a break, YouTube may not tell you when a new video goes live, but if you get the email reminders, you will see when the video goes live. The one thing that's not going to happen is we won't have these as premieres, so discussions during the videos. So all comments and discussions are going to be in the comment sections with the videos. I also ask that you keep the discussions in the comment section rather than trying to reach out on social media, because I would really like these discussions to be in one place. That is the future for the next little while here on Family History Fanatics. In the next video, I'll explain why I started with a spreadsheet rather than a genealogy database for my research. You can let me know whether that decision was right or not, but maybe you should wait until you see that video before you make that content. So this is Family History Fanatics reminding you that if family history isn't fun, you're doing it wrong, and I will see you in the next video. Bye now. I knew he was hospitalized.